the mind-boggling killings that have been going on in Zamfara state. He also restated the steps his administration has so far taken to restore peace to troubled states such as Kaduna, Katsina, Kogi, and Niger. Taking to his verified Twitter handle at M. Buhari on Sunday, the president wrote, "It is ridiculous and unfair to suggest that I am not concerned about the situation in Zamfara or doing anything about it. Ensuring the protection of the people of Nigeria is one of my primary responsibilities and functions. No other issues dominates my attention as much as the president." The president said the federal government was fully determined to tackle the challenge furiously until the killers are crushed and utterly defeated. He informed that security agents have been deployed to all the areas currently under attack, adding that government was currently fine-tuning the nation's security strategy to achieve meaningful peace. Buhari Operation Sharan Daji and the newly launched Operation Puff Adder are focused on Zamfara, Kaduna, including the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, Katsina, Kogi, and Niger states, noting that it is a multi-agency operation bringing together the military, police, the DSS, and others to arrest the situation. He appealed to Nigerians not to politicize the tragic situation in Zamfara while condoling with families of the deceased. Acting Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu has announced a ban on mining activities in Zamfara state following reports that it could be the reason for increase in security in the state. Adamu made this known while speaking to journalists after a security meeting at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa Abuja on Sunday.
Out and permanently put an end to armed banditry and criminality in Zamfara state in particular and the Northwest in general. The Nigeria Police Force, in collaboration with the Nigerian military and other security services, has commenced Operation Buff Adder, which is a full-scale security offensive against the bandits. The operation is aimed at reclaiming every public space under the control of the bandits, arrest and bring to book all perpetrators of the violence in the area and their collaborators, and to achieve a total destruction of all criminal camps and hideouts, and also to mop up all illicit weapons, fueling the violence and attain a full restoration of law and order in the affected communities. Our commitment at protecting the sanctity of life and property is irrevocable, and we will not scale down the pressure on the armed bandits until they are totally flushed out. Meanwhile, in the face of intelligence report that has clearly established a strong and glaring nexus between the activities of the armed bandits and illicit miners, with both mutually reinforcing each other, the federal government of Nigeria has decided as follows. Mining activities in Zamfara and its environment are hereby suspended with immediate effect. Consequently, any mining operator who engages in mining activities in the affected locations henceforth will have his or her license revoked. I want to assure the general public, especially in the affected areas, that the security services are doing their best to address the security situation. May I appeal for the cooperation of the local communities, especially the traditional and religious leaders within the community, to cooperate with the security agencies. Meanwhile, we note the use of social media to spread fake news, falsehood, and deliberate misinformation. We therefore urge our citizens to exercise restraint in circulating uninformed information capable of doing more damages to all of us. Let us not allow the social media to hijack our sense of judgment and capture our minds negatively. All the foreigners that are within the mining sites in this environment are hereby asked to leave the mining site. and a joint effort or task force by the security agencies will be put in place to take over the mining sites.
This is coming barely 24 hours after citizens in Abuja embarked on a peaceful protest to the State House on Saturday to demand more proactive steps to improve security surveillance in Zamfara State and its environs. Adamu said all companies mining gold in Zamfara have been directed to suspend their activities and that who fail to comply will have their licenses revoked. Also, foreigners working on the various mining sites were directed to leave with immediate effect. The IGP also announced the launch of a special security operation to curb the operation of bandits in Zamfara State. At the Zamfara protest march on Saturday, one of the protesters blamed the killings in Zamfara on the quest to grab more land for mining activities. Hello and welcome to your program, Governance Today. I am your host, Anita Patrick. And on the program, like we always do, we talk about issues around governance, security, and other basic issues around us in the country. And joining me on the program to talk about this issue, to x-ray this ugly trend of killings in the country, I have with me a security consultant and also a former British police officer with me in the studio in person of Mr. Vince Onyekwelu. Hello, good evening, Mr. Vince.
Hi, good evening. Hello, Nigerians.
Okay, it's good to have you with us this evening to talk about this issue. I'm glad you were here and you listened to the Inspector General of Police and you heard the breakdown on what is going down in Zamfara State. That's cutting across other states that we have some issues. But let's put Zamfara in focus.
Alright.
Yes, the issue of mining is going beyond what it's supposed to be. What's your take as a security expert on this issue?
Thank you so much for having me. Obviously, the current issues going on in Zamfara when it comes to our national security is getting very worrisome in the sense that the basic responsibility of a government is to secure lives and properties. And right now, I don't believe from a professional point of view that that is being achieved in Zamfara State. Not only in Zamfara State, in many other states of Nigeria. But even though our focus today is on Zamfara State, that protection of lives and properties are not being actually being satisfied. Now look at a very funny situation in Zamfara State where we are losing lives and properties. Now, example, if I use Southern Kaduna to compare Zamfara State, we have a very good understanding that in Southern Kaduna we've got issues of religious and ethnic violence. We've got issues of herders and farmers going on there. Now, when it comes to Zamfara State, you have a community that we are not actually very sure, even though now there's a bit of clarity that it has to do with gold mining. But the lack of information shows that what else is being mined in Zamfara State? Are these not our national assets? Just like we've got crude oil and we've got liquefied natural gas in other parts of Nigeria, or we've got coal other parts of Nigeria. Are these minerals like gold or uranium or other things we are getting information, are those abundant in Zamfara State? How come private organizations are mining them? Is that not supposed to be a responsibility of a particular government, parastatal or agency? And how much is the government of Zamfara State in their what they call IGR, internal generated revenue? How much are they making? How much are they bringing to the central table of Nigeria as a country? So that piece of information is not there. But that's one step. Let's go to another step now. We're talking about the issue of security of people in Zamfara State. Now, the issue of terror is still with us in Nigeria. We've got the Boko Haram. We are not sure if Boko Haram is involved in this. We are not sure if the herdsmen are involved in this. We are also not sure if the kidnappers that is kind of stressing Nigerians along Abuja, Kaduna, because Kaduna State is right below Zamfara State. We don't know if the kidnappers are involved. We don't know if armed robbers, that is very common in Nigeria, are involved. We've got a new nomenclature now called armed bandits. Who gave them that name of armed bandits? We don't know.
Okay.
Somebody somewhere sit down and being an expert, there's a way you bring narrative into a society. The name armed bandit just came out from nowhere. No. It was constructed by people somewhere and gave that name armed bandits. Now, none of them has been arrested, none of them has been prosecuted. They are almost faceless. So, from a professional point of view, a lot of people will believe me, a lot of school of thought will believe me that we've got under different kind of terrorists terrorizing Nigerians. This could also be a cult group. It could also be what we call a cartel. Because most times in cartels, we talk about drug cartels. But you can also have cartels that manage these mining sites. People own these mining sites. There were licenses given by the federal government of Nigeria to these mining sites. They are human beings. There is what you call in law, we call it about lifting the veil of incorporation. At a point, you have to lift the veil of the names of those people that own these mining sites. Who are the names? Are they Nigerians? Let's get to know about them. So let's see if they are politicized, if they are criminals, if they are mere businessmen. Then we can understand why should the government of Nigeria hand over such important gold mining to individuals when it's supposed to be a national asset that we're supposed to be able to get information to fund our budget from there. So I'll allow you to ask me more questions, but it's very, very diverse what's going on there.
Well, I wanted you to speak from your point of view on what you foresee or what you see so far. If we look at the issue, we're talking about gold mining. How many companies do you even think the government has given the license to even operate this gold mining that is generating this issue of bandits?
That's where I think in policing we have this issue of information. You see, in policing, communication is very basic. If you want to be successful in policing, you have to be able to communicate with the people. So what the IGP of police have done recently to announce the banning of of mining in this site, fantastic. I love that because that is a way to calm things down right now. But it's not going to last for too long. So what is that's a short-term scenario. What is the medium-term scenario? What is the long-term scenario? Now we need to actually have more of communication with our president because it's very possible that Mr. President, with all his good intentions, are not really very well informed about what's happening on the ground in Zamfara, in Kaduna, in Kogi, across Taraba, Anambra, Imo, Enugu, where killings are going on. So if you have a face-to-face, one of those media chat interactions that we once had in Nigeria, probably once every 3 months, that could give him and his security chiefs a direct contact with the people so they can share in their pains and understand what's going on. So when you're talking about the licensing, it's not for me to say whether they're legal or illegal, but it's for me to say that I believe that this should be a national asset, that we should all be partakers in the revenues coming from these things. Now, what you need to understand that we are into a very serious situation in Zamfara State. From a professional point of view, I'm not trying to scaremonger, I'm not trying to make people to be afraid. But the truth is, Zamfara is very in a big trouble. One, you have a country that's got no very porous national borders. The worst thing that could ever happen to a country or society is to have porous borders, left, right, and center. It's like having a home where you have your family and your children, and you've got no fence, you've got no doors, you've got no windows, and you live around jungle. That means any animal can come in there, any mad person that can come in there, any kind of questionable characters can come in there. That is Nigeria for you. We've got porous borders. What happens in porous borders? Killers are attracted, criminals are attracted, and there is a very new institution in the world that is very new to Nigeria. Probably they're not even thinking about it yet. We call it narco terrorist. Now, what it means, like when you have drug cartels, drug traffickers, they love porous borders because drug trafficking is a very lucrative business. It kind of is very, very close to politics because the profit there is amazing. So when you have porous borders, all they need to bring is to bring in opium, for example. From opium, you can have morphine. From opium, you can have codeine, which is a very big issue in northern Nigeria. from opium, you can have other substances that people can abuse. They make money from there and they use that money to sponsor terrorism. What is terrorism? Whenever a group of people want to use violence to perpetuate their political agenda or to perpetuate their religious agenda, to kill people, to create violence, that is terror. So, if we are facing a terrorist group that could be masked as miners or cartels, the bottom line, they are terrorists. Whether anybody calls them armed bandits or anything, they are terrorizing Nigerians. They are creating violence. They are creating corruption because they have money that comes from narcotic sales. They can use that money to corrupt the system. They can use that money to corrupt the youth. They can use that money to corrupt even the security agencies. They can use that money to corrupt the society. That is why you don't hear of arrest of them. People are scared because they have money. They have powers. That is terrorism. And Nigeria has to wake up to know that you've got porous borders. You've got no national ID system. We know of the national ID system that I've registered for, but I never gotten my copy till today. All I got was a plastic paper that was asked to laminate. And even when you go to get that national ID card, I was surprised I was asked to pay money for the form. I said, what happened to the form? Oh, the form is finished. You have to bring money for them to go and photocopy the form and bring back for you. How much? And they said it was 15 naira. I said, they're laughing. It was laughable that I have to pay 15 naira to go and have a copy of the form to do national ID in Nigeria. Fine, I had to pay the 15 naira. After that, what else? They said, oh, we need contribution. I said, what contribution for? They said, we don't have enough fuel in our generator, that there is no light here. And they're supposed to be at a post office. I laughed again. And everybody was looking at me like, Oga, help us. I had to bring up money again and give to them to go and buy fuel. Because if you don't do that, you won't be registered. Mm-hmm. So you've got a country that's got porous borders. Nobody is sacked. Nobody is resigning. Our borders are porous. Narcotic terrorists coming. Criminals coming. Drug pushers coming. Boko Haram coming. Terrorists coming. Kidnappers coming. And there's no national ID. So I cannot differentiate between Vin and Vin. I don't know who is Ada and Obi. There's no differences. Musa and Adamu. Ola and Taiwo. There's no way you can know that this man is who they claim to be. It's not rocket science. A simple fingerprint on a machine can tell you that this man is Vin or Ola or Adamu or Taiwo. But we don't have nothing in Nigeria. So it beggars belief where we are in Nigeria. And now, let me go even deeper. I saw the IGP of police talking about what they are putting in place. But let me tell you what they don't have in place. What they don't have in place is there's no good relationship between the Nigerian security agencies and the communities there. Every criminal comes from a community. Every criminal belongs to a compound, to an environment. One of the best ways to catch those kind of criminals is work with the victims of crime. All these people that are being killed in ZAMFARA state are people's fathers, mothers, sisters, daughters, sons, uncles. What is the victim care plan of the Nigerian government for those people they left behind? That is poverty being perpetuated in a different way now. Mm-hmm. Because when the miners or the workers at the mine are killed, they'll leave a family behind. When the sole provider of food is gone, maybe he has 4 sons, they've got no job. They need to find a way to survive. And life of crime can be a way to survive. The federal government is not taking care of the victims of crime. Now, furthermore, there's what you call foundational principles. When you talk about issue of mass killing, because ZAMFARA says mass killing. Yeah. Today you heard about 50 killed, 10 killed, 5 killed. It's mass killings. And we have fundamentals. Obviously, as a professional, as a businessman, I'm not going to say everything out. But for the sake of the lives of Nigerians, I don't mind to put my career in the point to say what I have to say. Now, fundamental principles. What is the site of this mine, gold mining? Okay. Have the Nigerian police been there to take an assessment of all the whole mines in ZAMFARA state? Where are they located? Is it in the north, east, west? What is the geographical component like? Why you do the site management monitoring is when there's an emergency, you know where you are going. You can go there as soon as possible to manage the emergency, to reduce the killing of people. That's number one. There's nothing like that in Nigeria. Number two, what is the understanding that those people are there ready to kill Nigerian lives? Number three, do you have emergency telephone numbers for the people there to call? 112, is it working in Nigeria? That's our emergency number. 199 or 119, whatever it's called, is it working in Nigeria? Or does it only work in Abuja or in Lagos? Does it work in Zamfara state? So if somebody calls an emergency number, must it be a long 11-digit telephone number, mobile number that you cannot even cram in your head? It's supposed to be simple. 112, ring it. I need help. This is where I am. Does it work in Nigeria? Now, what we call the first responders. So when a police officer arrives, remember I said the word police officers, because in Nigeria, we are not sure about our first response. We bring in the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, the DSS, the police. There is no category of rank of authority. When it comes to the issue of internal security matters, that is the sole leadership of the Nigerian police force. But the truth of the matter, do they have charge and authority? I'm not sure they do. Last 2 days or 3 days, I heard about the Nigerian Air Force going to bomb some sites in Zamfara state. What was on the headlines was the Nigerian Air Force had neutralized suspected bandits hideout. And I was laughing. How can the Nigerian Air Force go and drop a bomb on armed bandits as they claim to call them? How sure that those people you drop bombs are really the armed bandits? You said that you came with human intelligence. How verifiable that you're not killing innocent Nigerian lives? How can you drop a bomb on armed bandits? It's like we are a war zone. It's like Nigeria has been turned into a killing field. It's like every day in Nigeria, innocent lives are killed in Nigeria. No government officer is resigning. Nobody is being sacked. And nobody is saying nothing. Tomorrow, we start talking about politics. The souls of the dead are forgotten. Nigeria is now littered with unmarked graves. Unmarked graves of Nigerians. Our mothers, our fathers, our sons, our daughters, unmarked graves. How can we live in such a society?
Okay.
It breaks my heart.
All right. If I may come in there, you've said so much talking about the issues that needs to be looked at, that the security agencies need to pay attention to, and I hope they're listening and they should look at these things. But let's look at for you. You've said one or two things that they should look out for. As an expert, yes, I obviously we know that there are porous borders. We know there are issues that need to be paid attention to, and don't forget that even during the elections, these borders are closed down. But I'm not sure how many are being closed because they are porous enough. Let's look at the major issues that are bringing about this ban. Just like you mentioned, we're not sure what phase they were right now, because initially we've had the issue of the Boko Haram, we had the issue of the herdsmen, and then all of a sudden we're now having bandits. Who gave them the name? So let's look at the mining sites. That is what is even triggering this whole issue. If it's a national asset, like you mentioned, and then for Nigeria, we know that the oil sector or the oil companies are giving major security to look out for these workers. What happens to the mining sites? Why are there not enough security agencies or officers put to look out for these miners and then these issues cropping in?
Different schools of thought will have different responses to that, and it's neither here nor there. It depends on if you've been in the field, if you've been there. But basically, it's for the federal government of Nigeria to explain to us why individuals are given licenses to mine national assets. How much is being made from those mining? Who is in charge of the accounting? How much has been taken from that mining proceeds to support the federal government of Nigeria? How many is used to distribute to during the Federal Executive Council meetings? How much is been coming out from there? How much is Zamfara State making in IGR from mining? That way we can know what is the capacity of the governor of Zamfara State to support his people in his state. We need to get information on this. But when you come to the issue of sites, if these sites are well managed, mining is not like oil, because mining has to do with digging up holes with water and the issue of sieving. It's very complicated. The bottom line is the leaders of Nigeria needs to wake up and smell the coffee. You cannot make a complicated situation more complicated. You haven't done with Boko Haram, that initially we're talking about Yobe, Adamawa, and Borno. Now you've gone into the issue of armed bandits, now kidnappers. The bottom line is those sites are porous. What possibly is happening in those sites is there is a kind of a gang war. Possibly there's an issue of cartels. So Mr. A with a license is trying to protect his mining field. He needs people to come and work for him. So if Mr. B start to attract more people to come and work for him, and Mr. A has less workers, he could hire thugs. Remember, thuggery is a very lucrative business in Nigeria today. We've heard about thugs that were used for the 2019 elections that are millionaires, billionaires, that fly first class across the world. Their children are overseas schooling. Somebody was even saying, is thuggery going to be a course in Nigerian universities very soon?
Really?
Because thugs are making money. So all the miner owner needs to do is get some thugs, get some armed people. The proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria is so simple to get firearm. And once you get firearm, you have your thugs, give them some money, some alcohol, which I said about narco terrorists. They all have what it takes. They have the narcotics, they have the violence in terrorism. So they have the money, they have the people. So by the time owner A starts to form a gang war, a cartel, owner B does the same thing, owner C does the same thing, there's a gang war. It's open, anybody can be killed. So what we have in Zamfara is complicated. But the bottom line, if I may use the word of our former leader of Nigeria, our CNC Abacha, said that whenever there is insurgency in the country that goes beyond 24 hours, that the system is aware of it. That there are people making money from the crisis in Zamfara state. There are people making serious profits from the illegal mine of gold. We're talking of gold. We're talking about lead. We even heard about the possibility of having uranium in Zamfara state. So there's a big money there. Big players are there, and the poor masses are being killed. But the danger here is what goes around comes around. When you keep a silence, when you're silent about killing of people, trust me, those folks are gonna improve. They're gonna metamorphosize to something bigger. So you with your money in Zamfara state, you will have to come run down to Abuja to enjoy your money, because you won't have peace in your community. That's what happens when people pretend they're not aware of people being killed. Those arms in the hands of thugs are going to be used to chase down your children in the future, if not now, in the next generation. What goes around comes around. Because once you destroy society because of a selfish pain or selfish gain, you have to probably run to the US or to UK to enjoy the money. But those in Zamfara, we need to wake up and say, save the lives of the people of Zamfara. It's not fair. They are Nigerians. You cannot allow this issue of mining, of cartels, of Boko Haram, of kidnappers to destroy the lives of Nigerians in the north. This used to be a peaceful state.
Okay.
Zamfara used to have sweet factories. It's dead now. They used to have tanneries. It's dead now. There's nothing. They used to have oil mills in Zamfara. It's dead now. What's there? It's not fair.
Okay, let's hold it there. We'll come back. We've been talking so much about the issue in Zamfara State. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, we have more in store for you. So stay with us. All right, welcome back. We're still here, and it's still your program, Governance Today. We've been looking at the issue of Zamfara banditry and the killings happening there in Zamfara due to the mining. And don't forget that the federal government is giving a ban on mining activities in Zamfara state, and they've asked foreigners to vacate the state in the next 48 hours. And I still have my guests with me in the studio. We've been extracting these issues and then looking at the way forward and what can be done to solve this issue. Yes, Mr. Vince, we're still here. We've been talking so much about this issue. Before I get back to you, don't forget the phone lines are open and you can call in to make your contribution. Yes, we've looked at the sides to these issues. There are some allegations here and there that some of these bandits are alleged to have worked or are still working with some politicians because they feel that's a good place to make money. And just like you mentioned, Togri being one of the lucrative business here in Nigeria, is there a way that they could be arrested? Because you mentioned that there are no arrests of these bandits. They just go freely, and then they left some families that have fallen victims of this circumstance due to these bandits. Is there a way forward out of this?
Now, the way forward is very simple. Obviously, it's easy to blame the politicians for everything. Possibly they may be involved, but obviously I don't have such evidence. I cannot just blame the politicians. But obviously there could be other businessmen. There could possibly even be non-Nigerians that have licenses to operate those mines. Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised that if there are non-Nigerians there. So the bottom line is for them to understand, is it wise for them to be given private licenses to these individuals, or they should then make it a national agency like you've got NNPC to manage the mining across Nigeria when it comes to issue of commercial quantity of gold deposit in Zamfara state. If it's a commercial quantity, then there should be a company like NNPC that manage that. All right, you can still have independent people somehow that get involved in it. That's one. And number two, the issue of firearms and light weapons proliferation, we need to work on it. Because, for example, in England, for example, if you are caught with a weapon, a gun, a firearm, for example, you're going to go down for 3 years or 5 years straight. There's no stories about it. In Nigeria, nothing happens. There's a law there, but it's not implemented. No arrest, no prosecutions.
Okay, let's pick this call and then we'll hear from our viewer. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is I'm calling you right from
Can you speak up a bit? I can't hear you. Okay, I think we lost that. Don't forget your phone lines are there on your phone. Please try and be audible enough so that we can hear you. Okay, yes, we're looking at the issues. My concern here is, yes, like you mentioned, we don't have evidences to say these are the particular persons. It could be foreigners, it could be politicians, it could be some business persons. But what should be the way out of this? If that's a national asset, it should be a way of adding value and not destroying lives.
Exactly.
So what exactly is wrong? What is the missing link there?
See, when you have a system where, okay, we've got a phone call.
Okay, just go ahead.
When you have a system in place that lacks credibility, that is confused, that has poor leadership, what do you expect to get out of it? Now, remember that during the 2019 elections, the elections took place in Zamfara state. All these bandits were not fighting each other. Elections happened. So there's a possibility that these so-called armed bandits were created by the system, because I've not talked to you about state-sponsored insurgency. In some countries like Lebanon, we have had state-sponsored terrorist groups that are used to make people believe there is trouble, whereas people in power are enjoying from the trouble. Alright, so we've got countries that have got state-sponsored insurgency there. So there's a possibility that this is a creation of the powers that be, of businessmen, of politicians, of Nigerians, of foreigners living in Nigeria that have got authority in Nigeria. But the bottom line, they are all for the benefit of the people in power. Trust me, if nobody is benefiting from this, they will be crushed within a week. But once there are people benefiting from it that can, who pays the piper dictates the tune. So you've got people in power somewhere. Look at where Zamfara is. There is Sokoto on top of Zamfara. Sokoto is peaceful. There is KB beside Zamfara. KB is peaceful. But it's Zamfara. I listened to somebody called Kadira Ahmed, a journalist, that was actually, I don't know what she said was the truth or not, but she was alleging that the governor of Zamfara barely lives in Zamfara state, that he spent most of his time in Abuja. If that is true, there is no leadership in place. If that is true, there is no arrest so far. These bandits are like ghosts. Come on now, we've been in front line of police, we understand what it takes. You can't just disappear from here, go there, kill people and disappear and go back. After all, the Navy said that the Air Force said that they have to go and bomb a place and neutralize the place. So you got intelligence that people were there. You're supposed to bring your tools of national security in place. Bring the men on the ground. Go there. Use the right time. Circle them. Cordon them off. You have to sustain the fire. We have the best to sustain the fire against them. Make some arrests so you understand who are behind them. Because you see, terrorists could be called armed bandits. Somebody sends them money, either from money transfers. So there is a lot on their phones. Some of them avoid transfers because they don't want to be tracked. Some of them will now use cash from sale of opium, from sale of codeine, from sale of morphine. So they have cash in their hand. You're going to find cash around them. There will be runners of cash. It's only when you arrest them and prosecute them we can find them. But when you go to bomb them and neutralize them, you just kill the whole evidence. And there is no guarantee that you've killed the right people. There could be possibility that you've killed the wrong people. But because that is Nigeria, no forensics, no information, no evidence, all you hear that we've neutralized them. Move on with your lives. But the truth is, nothing has been done. Boko Haram is still there.
Okay.
Herdsmen are still there.
Okay, what should be the appropriate approach or response of the government in this case? Because from all we've gathered, and you being an expert, what should be the right modus operandi differently from what we've had in over time and across the states? Because states like Kaduna, we had the issue of kidnapping and armed robbery, and then in some other states we had issues of communal clashes. So what should be done differently with this whole issue in Zamfara?
It's bigger than you're seeing it. It's growing bigger. The territories they control is growing bigger. Remember, you cannot freely travel from Kaduna now to Abuja without getting kidnapped. The fear is there. The fear factor is there. And Kaduna shares border with Zamfara. The fear factor is there. Now, what can we do better? Number one, secure our national borders. You cannot get it right without knowing who comes into your house or who leaves from your house every day. You cannot be guaranteed if people come into your kitchen every day. You cannot eat the food from that kitchen. Secure our national borders, number one. Very important. Number two, activate our national ID system. We have biometric ID systems in Nigeria. So if people go to UTC in Abuja and they have an ID on their chest, it's not biometric ID. Anybody can form a company and just have a face there. We've got our driver's license. It's biometric because you've got very unique features of your body in that system. It could be your thumbprint. Nobody has two thumbprint. It's only one. It's unique. We've got our national passport. It's biometric. We've got our temporary voter's card. It's biometric. We've got our permanent voter's card. It's biometric. We've got this so-called the BVN. It's biometric. It's unique. Your number is your number. No two people share the same number. So you've got this national ID card that we haven't seen the real thing. We haven't seen the card. It's just the paper form we've seen. So we've got NHIS. It's biometric. So we've got about 5, 6, 7 biometric systems. All we have to do is to clean them up. That whenever you arrest somebody in KB or in Kogi or in Anambra or in Sokoto or in Lagos or in Rivers State, you put their fingerprint there. We know who the person is. We know if he's been looked for by the police. We need to have an ID system working. And we need to be seeing the police arresting and prosecuting people. The Air Force needs to stop this idea of bombing suspected armed bandit sites. I don't understand how you're gonna drop bombs. Is that why you bought our jets for? To bomb? Do you know? Even a criminal on death row has some level of rights. Even a condemned criminal has some level of rights. And those people you bombed, there's no evidence that they're actually criminals. And you just drop bomb on them and just destroy their lives. The environmental factor, if there are chemicals in that bomb, it could have effects for the past 10 years on the soil texture. They cannot farm. They're going to breathe some toxins. The women that are pregnant that can lose their babies. So you don't just do this in 2019. If you don't have the idea or the willpower, just say it. But stop telling us that you drop bomb on armed bandits. Come on. So the solutions are there. But the word is, are they listening? Do they have the willpower? Are they determined to crush it out? Or are they just using semantics, narratives, delay tactics? Because terrorism favors some people, while it destroys some people. It depends on where you stand.
Okay, that's a big question for the governments and those in authorities to actually pay attention to. Yes, like I've mentioned, and you've actually provided solutions or preferred or recommendations rather for the government to look at, and we hope they pay attention to that. I think we have a call. Let's hear from our caller. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good evening.
I want to participate in the discussion.
Okay, what's your name first? What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Enugu.
From Enugu, what's your name?
Reverend Energy.
Okay, go ahead. Alright, go ahead, we can hear you.
It's not appearing on television.
So how come you're calling? Do you understand what we're talking about at all?
Yes.
Okay, so just go ahead and make your contribution. Too bad. Okay, too bad we couldn't get to hear what the Reverend had to say to us.
He's gonna call back. Hopefully.
I hope he calls back before we go out of here. Yes, we've looked at the issue of Zamfara because that's our focus, and let's look at it in general. The space of killings, we've had killings. Let's look at from January. Let's look at last year before now. We've had issues over time, and even we just concluded elections. We had issues around some places, some states, and around security. What should be the approach to ensure that the citizens can't trust the police? Should we look at the issue of community policing? Just the last take before we
Obviously,
run down.
that is gonna be a very big subject matter that will probably need more time to do. But obviously, it's not about even bringing. I support the idea of community policing. I support the idea of state policing. However, we still need to know that Nigeria has a structure that needs to be restructured.
Okay.
Nigeria has a system that is not working for the masses. We need to start at the grassroots. Yes, community policing makes sense, but you will hear, example, my very good friend Garba Shehu, the SSA to Mr. President, that says that many states cannot even pay their civil servants. So if you bring community or state policing, are you guaranteed the state will be able to pay them? That will be those that are against states. Whereas the other people that are in support will say, yes, we can have state policing, community policing. They will have the same structure that make sure that the police commission are in charge, the police service commission, the PSC are in charge to make sure that the payment goes across the whole state. And there's going to be systems of committees to manage it, that the money is kind of, even though it's state, it comes from a kind of the central power to avoid states owing any police officer. But the bottom line is, when the police haven't got a good friendly relationship with the community, you cannot fight crime. When the state or the army, even the army, don't always call the police here because the army has got this, they keep silent, but they will take actions knowing that you cannot take them to a civil court. Unlike the police officer, When he commits a crime or an infringement, he can go to the police issues and then come to a civil court. The army can come in, step on your toes, and they will not go to a civil court. So they are there keeping quiet, but they are the big elephant in the room, the Nigerian army. But the police needs to understand that right now we need to build a better community relationship with the youth. Not everybody that's got a dreadlock is a criminal. In Nigeria, they think they're a criminal. Not everybody that has a tattoo on their body is a criminal. Not everybody that puts a phone plug on their ears and playing music is a criminal. Not every young man that drives a nice Mercedes Benz or dresses well is a criminal. There's this mindset that when you're successful in Nigeria, you're a criminal. You carry dreadlocks, you're a criminal. You dress nice, you're a criminal. You wear tattoo, you're a criminal. We need to train our police more. Like in England, we have a program called Officer Safety Training. We do it almost every five months. They understand the new technology, new systems to be efficient, to be effective, to minimize costs in policing. But we need to do more. It's not about the police. Nigerian police are very effective in their own way because they work with most bare hands. All they carry is gun, not even a bullet vest. All they carry is gun and probably a knife vest. So let's respect our police that are doing well. Even the army are doing well, but they should be doing more because they have enough funding that goes to them.
Okay, on that note, we thank you very much for joining us on the program Governance Today, and we look forward to having more of this conversation to see how the country can move forward in terms of security. Thank you so much, Mr. Vince, for joining us. And that's the look of the program today, Governance Today. We've been talking about the issue of gold mining that's brought out so much for ZAMFARA State, leading to the loss of lives of so many, and then the federal government has given 48 hours to foreigners to vacate the spot. And also, they've actually put in place some measures to ensure that Nigerians are safe, Zamfara residents are safe, that this operation is going to ensure the safety of the Nigerian people there in Zamfara State. And I hope you've had a nice time with us listening to our conversation. And I hope the security agencies have heard from our consultant here in the studio. And we look forward to a positive response and moving the nation forward. My name is Anita Patrick. Many thanks for watching and do enjoy your evening.